scared as the White House orders a new round of sanctions on Russia, targeting President Putin's chief of staff, his close friends, and some of the richest people in the country. The new penalties are the second set of sanctions this week, after the first seemed to have little impact on stopping Russia from annexing Crimea. But the Obama administration continues to talk tough.
President Obama wanted me to come personally to make it clear what you already know, that under Article 5 of the NATO treaty, we will respond. We will respond to any aggression against a NATO ally.
Tony Sayegh is a Fox News contributor. Bernard Whitman is former Bill Clinton pollster and Democratic strategist. And we have seen this debate come up, gentlemen, between two different sides about whether or not this is too little too late or we're doing just the right thing. I mean, Tony, how do you take what we've done so far and what actions it has or has not produced?
Well, sanctions alone are not going to prevent Vladimir Putin from extending this aggression from Crimea into the Ukraine. Statements that we just heard from Vice President Biden are much more effective along the line to reinforce the fact that we are prepared at all costs to back up our NATO allies, and we have 4 NATO allies that border the Ukraine. And I think what we need to start doing is discussing with the alliance whether or not deploying more troops to Romania, to obviously Poland and Slovakia and the others that border the Ukraine, to show that NATO is taking very seriously this aggression, and sanctions by themselves clearly don't send that message.
So you think that the vice president is actually being more tough, more forceful than our president?
I think that comment is much more helpful than giving sanctions to Vladimir Putin's next door neighbor.
You know, is it a strategy, though, Bernard, that Joe Biden is over there now, the president is going to be in Europe next week, the president makes the mention of new sanctions for some of the top officials, also certain sectors of the Russian economy. How do you see us playing this so far?
Well, look, I think there's no question that we need to continue to squeeze Vladimir Putin like the snake he is. I have said for a long time that, frankly, Putin is like Hitler. He's not as barbaric or not as heinous or not acting as egregiously as Hitler right now, but he has a long track record of exploiting vulnerable populations to take the focus off of Russia's crumbling economy and the fact that corruption is pervasive in that society, and he has a huge benefit of that corruption.
Have we done anything to chop off the head of that snake?
No, not yet, but I think that we're going to increasingly have to go after tougher sanctions. I think we should put Vladimir Putin on the list of people that are sanctioned and not allowed into the U.S. I think that we should consider kicking out Russia out of the G8, as David Kramer has suggested, and I think we ought to go after their economy, their financial services sector. But what you're saying essentially
is that you don't think the administration has been tough enough so far.
Well, this is a continuing and evolving dynamic, and I think we have to increasingly squeeze in relation to what Vladimir Putin is doing on the ground.
That brings up the question, Tony, though, is it too little too late? Have we waited too long to do that?
It's not too late yet. The problem is obviously based on Vladimir Putin's viewing how President Obama's handled Syria, handled Iran. He realizes that this is not a man who likes to be too tough. He thinks America actually should be more cooperative, maybe even more subordinate on the world stage. Right now is when we need real American leadership, including putting the New START treaty.
A final question for you both, then. And I don't mean to interrupt you in this, but I'm going to have to wrap this up. The final question is, where is our priority right now when it comes to foreign policy? I mean, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, who's actually mapped out who America is in this world today, Bernard?
The answer is the America's foreign policy has to change in response to what happens on the ground. I don't think anybody could have assumed that the Russia political government would collapse and the Ukraine would collapse and Russia would come in and annex Crimea. So I think we have to stand for democracy. I think we have to stand for capitalism. I think we have to stand for the freedom of people to self-determine their right. And clearly Russia is stepping all over that, and that cannot stand.
We have to reassert our geopolitical dominance in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. If not, Vladimir Putin becomes the most powerful man in the world.
That will never happen because he is a paper tiger. His economy is based on oil.
So let's allow
that off.
So let's allow liquefied natural gas to go from the United States to Europe instead of giving sanctions to
We'll see what steps can be taken. So far, we know certain lawmakers are not making any trips to Russia this summer because they're not allowed into the country based on the sanctions. Tony, Bernard, great to see you both. Thank you very much. Jenna.